It's my final destination, running away from me. Yeah, that's not how the song goes, but whatever. All right, Final Destination 4. This has always been my least favorite, or it's otherwise known as the Final Destination. And then we got a Final Destination 5, like a year or two after this. Just like it's the simple way of saying the final chapter, and then just continuing on afterwards. So, the Final Destination 4, I don't care for it like the rest of the series. It's not terrible, like by any means, just nowhere near as good as the rest. And I feel like the CGI is a little cheap looking in some of the parts of this movie. The characters I don't care for as much as the last three movies for sure. Even maybe the next one is on the same level as this, like character wise. But Lori, the guy's girlfriend in this, she's cute. That's like the only identifying traits that I have with any of the characters in this movie. So let's watch Final Destination 4 and talk about it because maybe it'll go up on this viewing. Probably won't. So let's get into it. And a side note, a great thing on like making one of these movies, you already have like the first 25 minutes taken care of. Like, because you know it's going to be the premonition, and then the actual event happening after that. So that's like pretty much the first 20 minutes of your movie right there. Oh, you basically only have to come up with an hour and 10 minutes after that. Just a side note, these must be very convenient to make at least the first half of the movie. So our main group in this one, we're at a racetrack. Forget if it's Daytona to try to link it to the second movie, because Kim and her friends were heading to Daytona for spring break. And I know how the series likes linking things together. So I'm not sure if it's Daytona. It doesn't really say it. But that would be cool. That would be a cool tie-in to the second movie. But they're watching this whole race go down, NASCAR type race. And there's about to be a huge accident. Like, who would have guessed? Oh, that's right. I remember this dickhead. The friend of the main dude with the blonde dyed hair. He's such a dick in this movie. And he's the one who gets his asshole sucked out in the pool, right? I love that scene. That's so funny. And he deserves it. Doesn't deserve it, but he's a prick, like, for this whole movie. So, he deserves at least to get, like, his ass ripped out. Let's hold on the guts and intestines and stuff that fly through the pool drainer or whatever. Those he should have been able to keep. But his asshole deserved to be ripped out. Man, that's nostalgic right there. When the dickhead guy he's drinking Jack Daniels or Jim Beam or something like that out of the binoculars that have the flask on the one side. My friend Chris used to bring those to concerts all the time. So I've drank out of those binoculars like an insane amount. So just seeing that brought back a lot of memories. And interestingly, this is the second movie in the series to have a male protagonist as the one who sees the visions. We had Alex in the first one, and then we had two females for 2 and 3, and now we have a male here, and then we have, in 5, we have a male, right? Yeah, it's the guy from, oh, what the hell's the movie that I love? The comedy movie with him and, I can't believe I'm blanking on this. When the two guys go to girls' cheerleader camp, and like they're trying to get girls and stuff. Oh, this is going to drive me nuts. It'll come to me, but that's the guy that's in the 5th one, the protagonist. And I like the security guard in this. That the black security guard. He plays some decent comic relief in this. Like, he's a pretty cool character. He's probably my favorite character in this movie. Is this guy. And you know how I've said in the last videos on how this franchise is very good with introducing the characters, like the survivors that we're going to be with, like the rest of this movie, like early on during the premonition. I feel like they don't do it as well here. Like, not really. Like, they show them, but you don't really, like, get to know anything about them, really. Except for, like, our main group of 4 here. Like, with the main dude and Lori and their 2 friends. Besides that, I mean, there's the woman, she's putting tampons in her kid's ear. And there's the mechanic with his girlfriend. And then there's the other dude whose wife gets stuck in there with the actual tragedy. Is there others? I don't remember. See, that's what I mean. It's like, even after seeing this movie many times, I can't remember, like, the characters for the most part. I think that's pretty much all of them, and the security guard. But there might be another one I'm forgetting. But the whole disaster at the beginning here, it's cool. Like, I like it. It looks really good. Like I said, there's a lot of CGI, but this whole series has a lot of CGI. It just looks cheaper here. And I don't know if it's because of the 3D, because this was in 3D when it came out. I remember seeing it in the theater in 3D. I don't remember much of what was the 3D. I'm pretty sure just blood and guts, just like Saw 3D when I was talking about that movie. Pretty sure it's just blood and guts and explosions, like shit thrown at the screen. But maybe that's why they didn't focus as much on the CGI, making it look as up to par as the other movies, because they were focused on the 3D. It's possible, but there's definitely a noticeable lack in quality, or drop in quality of the CGI in this movie. And the dickhead friend's whole comment about, like, when the girlfriend asks him and says, "You want to see crashes here?" And he's like, "Yeah, no, I want to see people going. Of course I come here for crashes." Reminds me of the great George Carlin, when he's talking about all sports and how none of them are sports, except for three: baseball, football, and basketball. And those are only three sports we have, and everything's a game and an activity besides that. And he starts talking about NASCAR racing. He's like, "Driving 300 miles around in a circle does not impress me. Like, I'm looking for a car fire." Brilliant, because that's exactly what pretty much everyone's looking for in a NASCAR race, is a car crash. Not just watching cars go in a circle a bunch of times. And man, when this accident starts in the premonition, just imagine, one person I think does get trampled. But imagine how many more people would be getting, would be getting stampeded, like completely to death, trying to get out of this place. And the shot of like the car engine flying out and hitting the girl in the chest and killing her, that's cool. Same with the mechanic dude, I think it's the mechanic. Yeah, the mechanic who slips and falls on the spike bench, because the bench like split into a spike, and he falls onto that and it impales him. That looks really cool too. And then I like the whole lead up to this, where the main dude, I'll get his name eventually, where he's like looking up and seeing like some like the cement like falling from the second level of the structure, and he asks like, "How old is this place?" And so like always, they do a great job of setting up the big disaster here and all the kills that I can remember, like with all the other movies in this series. They do such a great job at that. I'm going to keep saying it throughout each video because that's one of the greatest things going for this franchise. Nick, that's his name, the main dude. So Nick has this whole premonition, and Laurie and the guard are the last two to go before Nick dies, and he gets impaled on the pole, and you can tell that was 3D, with the pole sticking out like right towards you. And then he comes right back into it and starts freaking out and saying, looking for all the signs and saying, "Hey, down in front," and then the guy says it. That would spook the shit out of me. Like, if my friend started like acting like this, I don't think I ever brought this up in the other movies, but yeah, if a friend of mine started freaking out, having premonition like this, and started freaking, saying like, and calling shit that hasn't happened yet, that he would have no way of knowing, I'd believe him immediately and get the fuck out of there immediately. That this guy's gonna know. He's like, tampons. He's gonna put tampons in her children's ears. Then she takes tampons out and puts them in. I'm out. Like, I'm out. Like, it's as simple as can be. I am leaving, because nobody should know that ahead of time. This dickhead friend has $500 on this race. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it could be. I don't think so. Alright, somebody answer this for me, because I just heard it. You know the Wilhelm scream in so many movies? Kind of like that. Is there a female version of the Wilhelm scream? Because I just heard a female scream that I've heard before. I know I have. And I've heard it in other movies. And I'm not going to try to imitate it, because I already forgot it. But it's... Watch this movie, the disaster part at the beginning, if you want to hear what I'm saying. But there is a distinct girl scream that I know I've heard in other movies. So is there like a female Wilhelm scream out there that I just never knew about? Let me know, because I'm interested now, because I definitely have heard that scream before. So then they all get out of there, and then the mechanic's girlfriend or wife, whatever it is, she gets the tire, comes flying from the stadium and hits her in the back of the head. The CGI does not look good there, like at all. It looks so cheap. But then you see her on the floor, like her body twitching and stuff. It looks like more CGI. I mean, there could be some practical in there, but it looked like a lot of CGI over it if there was. So that's what I'm saying with the CGI in this movie. It's very cheap looking. And I'd almost be willing to bet at this point that it's, like I said, they were paying more attention to the 3D, filming the 3D stuff, and said, all right, let's just cut corners with the CGI. That's what I'm thinking. But I like the whole opening credits here, how we see, like, deaths from all the previous movies, and kind of like that show, 1,000 Ways to Die, where it shows you, like, the anatomy and stuff and like what happens. So like they show like the girl Erin in the third movie with the nail gun. They show the nails go through the back of the skull's head and stuff. I love the opening credits of this movie. So there's a positive right there. Credits are great in this. Directed by David R. Ellis. I don't know anything else he's done, like by name. So I'll look it up after, see. And I'm still trying to think of the name of that damn movie. with the guy from the fifth Final Destination, and is it Christian Haydenson? No, that's the dude from Star Wars, isn't it? Yeah, I can't remember the dude's name, and this is going to kill me, this whole video, that I can't think of his name. They go to it, they're two male football players, and they go to cheerleader camp instead so they can get laid a whole bunch. And then the guy from Final Destination 5 falls in love with one of the girls there, and then he feels bad about being crashing their cheerleader camp. Why can't I think of this? I love this movie. Okay, that's right. They showed on the TV announcement here, the broadcast. It's McKinley Racetrack, which McKinley was the school from the third Final Destination, and that dude's name, the character I like, who they kind of turn into a bad guy at the end, which I don't like, McKinley. So it does have a link to the last movie, which is cool. And then they have the dickhead guy here who is with Janet, Nick, and Lori with his stupid lucky coin that he keeps flicking up and down, and that's basically what leads to his death at the end of, like, near the end of this movie. It's the friggin' coin. His lucky coin got his ass ripped out. That's why I don't carry lucky anythings. Fired Up. That's the name of that movie, the comedy, with the two football players that go to cheerleading camp. I love that movie. That is such a funny movie. If you haven't seen Fired Up, go see it. And try to remember the name afterwards, because I don't know why I couldn't think of it. But we got the racist truck driver here who is pissed at the black security guard because he wouldn't let him go in after his wife, and his wife died. And he got all racist at the memorial and stuff and said that his time's ticking. And now he goes here and looks like he's going to kill or try to kill the security guard, but he don't have the chance to. And it looks like he's going to crucify this guy. Like, he brings out of his truck, like, a cross that he made. So he's going to crucify this guy on his front lawn? Was that the plan here? Because that's ridiculous. And then we get, oh, why can't I think of the band today? Why can't I think of anything today? Why don't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Oh, why can't I think of the friggin' name? Same people did the Cisco Kid was a friend of mine. Can't think of the name, but he gets that music starts blaring, and then he just gets pulled down the street by like the chain or some shit on his truck, and he ignites on fire. And then the security guard comes out and he sees the guy being dragged down the street. That's hilarious. Like, just for what this guy was about to do to him, he deserved all that for sure. Like, to be dragged burning down the street? That's fitting. I mean, he was gonna fucking crucify this guy. Are you serious? Is it War? Yeah, it's War who sings those songs. Great song to have for this scene. That's all I could say. I like how the truck, his truck or business he works for, is called Destiny Trucking, and it just shows the shot of the first part. Just says Destiny on the back of his truck before he gets stuck on the chain and dragged away. That's a cool little Easter egg there. Destiny. This is his destiny. For trying to crucify this black guy, is to get dragged down the street screaming on fire. That's his destiny, man. You can't fight with destiny and fate. And then the dude's head flies right in front of the security guard and lands right in front of him on his lawn. That's a great scene. I like that whole first scene, that first survivor kill. Yeah, I think I remember Lori from this movie so much because she's just in her panties here, and like this whole scene, distracting to say the least. And in this movie now, like Nick has like dreams. I don't like any of that. Like how he just like he said on he saw the news broadcast for the racist dude being dragged down the street and killed, and he said that he notices the door of the security guard, the red door, because he dreamt it the night before. And then every time he gets like a vision here, he just kind of throws images at the screen, like he's like having a quick little vision. Like I don't like how any of that's handled. They were doing just fine in the last three movies. I don't know why they chose to do that. I don't care for it. Okay, so we have the woman with her two kids here going to get her hair done and manicured or pedicure, whatever. And again, they do a great job here of making you wonder what the hell's going to kill this woman. With just the chair being the first thing, with the chair that don't work. And she puts her all the way up and she falls right down. And just others, the gel leaking, and then the hairspray, I think it is, can that gets stuck in the heating iron, curling iron, whatever the hell it is, flattener, and it heats it up, and then that flies off, and then all of that, and you have no idea what's going to kill this woman. And then she goes to leave, and the guy on the lawnmower across the street, he hits a rock, and a rock just goes right through her face. Awesome scene. Like a lot of suspense, a lot of build-up. Great. And the fucking fan falls down and shit. Like, this woman had a million chances to die before the rock hit her. And now, I don't remember already. Did the kids die? I mean, in the premonition. Because I was thinking that they're going to die, too. But I don't remember kids dying in this franchise at all. Which would have been nice. Like, show some balls, let these two kids get, like, pulverized by something. Like, but I don't think they died in the premonition, but I can't remember. I know that obviously they got out after the premonition, so they were saved. So shouldn't that mean death's coming for them, too? Unless I missed something, but I feel like these two kids should be fucking dead. That's what I'm trying to say. Oh, this guy's such a dick. And, I mean, funny, but dick funny. He's a funny dick. When the four of them get together and they're starting to explain what Nick was, you know, his premonition and everything. And now the girlfriend is like, don't you think it's weird that two of the people who survived are now dead? And then he's like, no, putting tampons in your kids' ears, that's weird. She was due to die eventually. That's funny, but what an asshole. And then we get the whole Flight 180 research thing, and you know, we get in all these movies and saying about Flight 180 and the survivors got off, and then they all started dying in weird ways, and that's what's going to happen to us. We got to figure out something to do, or otherwise we're all going to die. Alright, so Dickhead and, what's her name, Katie, something like that? The other friend, are they boyfriend and girlfriend? I don't think so, right? They're just friends of Nick and Lori's. Because after she leaves, because she's freaking out at the whole idea of this, which I would be too, he stays behind, and he's like, I'm going to do what if we only have, you know, limited time left, I'm going to do what I do best and go get laid. So they're not together, right? Unless he's just a complete asshole. But, like, you kind of feel and get the impression they're together at the very beginning of this. Like, at the racetrack. But apparently they're not. And then he says, like, while he leaves, he's like, yeah, and if I run into her, then I'll check on her. So, at least he has some good bone in his body. So Janet is nothing like Katie or Caddy. But that's her name, Janet. And no, sorry, Nick, there is no such thing as these are just coincidences. Like, if I had a premonition at a racetrack, or in any of these movies, the scenarios, then left and saved a bunch of people, and then two of them died within a week, or like a few days, no, that's not a coincidence. That scary shit is happening to you and everybody you know that was at that racetrack. Not a coincidence in the slightest. So Nick and Lori goes back to the racetrack to try to figure out and rack his brain on the order and who died when and who's next. And then a security card comes down and he lets them look at the security footage of the accident, which, I mean, would that even happen? I severely doubt it. That he's allowed to show that security footage and shit. Like, that wasn't taken by the police, like, to look into what happened here or anything like that. I don't know about all that. That's kind of stupid. But that's how he's on board, like, right from the bat. George, the security dude. He's like, All right, sure. Like, I believe you. Like, this guy does not take long to convince at all that death is following these people. Cool little thing thrown in here. They go to the mechanic, his job, which if I found out this news from them, the people are dying in weird ways, and I worked at a fucking mechanic shop, I'd quit. Right then and there. I ain't being around all this dangerous shit when death is coming after me. Are you serious? Not a chance. But cool thing that they throw in here about George. We get a little bit of backstory on him. That he was driving drunk and he got in an accident and it took his wife and child. Which sucks, man. That's terrible. And that he's had to live with this, like, ever since. And then we see him later on in the movie, like, try to kill himself multiple ways. Like, in a comic, like, exposition from him. I tried killing myself with this morning, and then I tried doing this, and, and it just wasn't his time. But cool with the mechanic. Like, so far, I mean, all the kills aren't bad. Like, you think the truck is going to hit him, then it doesn't. Then the fucking canned air or nitrous, whatever the hell it is, comes and has him fly into the fence, and it, like, cuts pieces out of his back. And then you see through the hole, and you see the other mechanics running towards him. That's cool, too. So far, like, the deaths are pretty good. And the whole thing with this, like, figuring out the order and stuff. Like, Laurie says to him, to Nick, all right, you got to remember, like, Janet or Dickhead, like, whoever, even if it was a second before the other one, who died? Come on, how would he know this from a premonition? And that calls into question all of these movies. Just because the disaster or a truck or the fire from the plane, Flight 180, any of that hit somebody first and then hit the other, you don't know if they hung on for life for another few seconds or minute or something like that. Like, how do you know one of the guys wasn't pinned under a cement block in here for like an extra 3 minutes before he died? He died after the other people. Like, you don't know any of that. So, I mean, this is all very convenient. That they all die instantly in all of these disasters in all of these movies. But it is what it is. And then we get such an on-the-nose friggin' reference when Nick is having his vision about water and stuff like that. And then we know that Janet is like in the, the car wash. And Dickhead is by the pool. So it could apply to both of them. And they don't know which one, so they split up to try to get to each of them. But he sees the sign that says Clear Rivers Water. Come on, man. I mean, I've said enough about that name in the first two videos. Clear Rivers. What a stupid name. But he gets to see it right there. He said he read all about Flight 180, so surely he must know the name Clear Rivers. But it doesn't seem like he reacts to that sign at all, saying like, oh shit, this is like a major sign. Like, Clear Rivers, that's the name of the girl who got off and survived for a little bit. None of that. So I guess that didn't show in his research. I like how the dickhead dude is at the pool and the kid in the water on the float is shooting a spray gun at him. And he just, like, pulls him in a little bit and pops the friggin' raft and takes the gun from him. That's funny as shit. And why would Janet go in this car wash? She just checked her sunroof, and it was all fucked up. Like, it went back, and then it wouldn't close, and she had to, like, work for it to close, and then she goes into her car wash, knowing that her thing's on the fritz. I mean, whatever. And they get her out, because she goes in, and the water starts filling in through the sunroof and drowning her almost, and then they finally get to her and get her out of there. Yeah, then the pool pressure machine and everything like that is on the fritz also with the dickhead, and his lucky coin falls into the pool, and he jumps in, and then his ass is being sucked down into the filter, and he can't get out, and he's trying to go like this to try to get his way up. And then the pressure just takes over and just rips his ass out right when Nick gets there, and just the filter just explodes, and just blood and guts fly up into the air just in time for Nick to see, like, this guy deserved it, like I said. And dude, when they go to save Janet, her head is stuck in the sunroof, sticking out of the car. Then George and Laurie pull up, and because she's like about to like go into something, and they smash into the front of her car so it wouldn't go any further. Dude, her head is stuck sticking out of the top of this car. You could have decapitated her or some shit. Like, don't be crashing into people's cars when their head's sticking out of the top. It's not a good thing to do. And yeah, when the ass explodes out, yeah, 3D blood geyser right at your face, and then the lucky coin falls down in like his guts. That's cool. That's why you never carry around a lucky anything, I told you. So now they don't know if Janet, they intervened and that ends everything, or if they're still on death's list, which we know they are, like just from all these movies prior. And George pretty much says that he's at peace with dying, that his family's waiting for him, and I feel bad for his character, man. I mean, yeah, he should not have been drunk and driving and killed his fucking family. That's terrible. But I still feel bad for his character. Like having to live with that guilt all the time and then trying to kill himself. And he says, like, they walk in, Laurie and Nick, and they find him hanging from the ceiling and they think he's dead for a second, and then he's wailing about and they help him down. He's like, well, dude, why are you trying to kill yourself? He's like, I've been trying to kill myself all day. He's like, I took a bunch of painkillers, I just threw them up. Then I went in the garage and hooked a hose to the tailpipe into the car, and the car kept stalling. And then he's like, and then this. That's funny as hell. Yeah, and then they celebrate way too early. Popping champagne and shit. It's like, yeah, you still got like fucking half hour left in this movie. You guys should not be celebrating this fast. And then they end up saying, let's not take life for granted. And Nick and Laurie plan a trip to Amsterdam. And they're like, oh, I can't believe we're going. And blah, 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 blah. And then they end up going to a movie, like Laurie and Janet, before a flight to Amsterdam, I guess. So I guess they have time to kill. And then it's cool in this movie, though, we get, if I remember, pretty sure, we get like a second disaster here. Second premonition, and then he has to save them. And it still doesn't work. But then they find out that they got the order wrong, which is a cool little twist thrown in here. That, or not the order wrong, but, well, yeah, it fucks the order up. But that there was a cowboy dude, and he survived. And that's why George wasn't able to kill himself, because this cowboy guy was ahead of them. And then they have this old person, like in the little, what do you call it? It's like a big plastic, like, saddle or some shit that they lift you into a pool, and they have like the jacuzzi pool filling up, and then someone stupidly forgets to turn it off, and the water's overflowing, and then it just smashes down onto the cowboy on the floor below him. The whole jacuzzi tub falls through the floor, squishes him to death. That's cool. It's alright. It's not like a great kill. I like how Nick and George are having this whole conversation about death, and like, oh, well, we cheated death, and now it's the plan and the list and all that, in an elevator with a bunch of nurses and doctors and stuff. They're not caring about any of this. They're just having this weird-ass conversation in the elevator with a bunch of people. I think that's hilarious. And then they find the cowboy guy's dead, and they're walking out, and they're like, and the George is like, oh, you know, deja vu, man. My wife says deja vu with... And then this motherfucker gets smashed in by the ambulance. Oh, man, I feel bad for George. At least he's with his family now, if heaven's a thing. Yeah, that's right. So they go to see Lay Love Dying, or Love Lays Dying. Yeah, that's the name of the movie. And they go to see some movie, and we see already the setup for it with somebody's construction worker. His glasses were left behind, and the sun's shining through it, and ignites a bunch of sawdust, and there's going to be this whole explosion in the movie theater, and then she's getting, like, feelings too, Laurie. Like, kind of reminds me of Clear, like, kind of getting her own visions and stuff in the first movie. She starts feeling like, and says to Janet too, she's like, I'm starting, you know how Nick was feeling that day at the racetrack? Like, I'm starting to get those visions too. So she's starting to feel it. And then Nick sees the whole theater explode, and he's like, oh shit, I gotta get over there immediately. And I like how funny it is when he goes to try, because who hasn't done this? Gone to a movie theater and then look at the board, and the same movie's playing in 9 fucking theaters. He's got to go in each one and be, Laurie, John. People, shh, shut the fuck up. Funny as shit. Like, we've all been there, I think. Trying to meet up with friends in a movie or something like that. The same movie's playing in every theater. Like, funny stuff. So then Janet dies in the premonition, which I don't care what you've been through, but especially having just gone through all these things, this crazy event of surviving a racetrack disaster, and then everyone getting picked off one by one. They're watching this movie, and there's like a bomb that's counting down in the movie, and as soon as it hits 0, It explodes on the screen, and then the actual explosion erupts into the theater and just kills Janet and like everybody in there. And then Nick and Lori are trying to run out of there, and then the escalator starts like falling apart, and she gets sucked into the gears of the escalator and just smushed completely. Then it comes out of it, and it was just a premonition. But I don't care what you've been through. If you've been through all the events of this movie, I'm not sitting there comfortable while a bomb is ticking down on the movie screen. Especially when my best friend is right there saying, listen, I'm having visions and shit too. We got to get out of here. It just seems like way too much poetic justice for it to be countdown to 0 and then you die from a real explosion. So I would have gotten out of there much quicker. Not even much quicker. Janet don't leave. So I would have gotten out of there, period, is what I'm trying to say. And so Nick had this vision, this premonition, the second one, of the explosion in the movie theater right before George died. So when the premonition ends, and it comes right back to Nick there, you hear George again, and then he gets hit by the fucking ambulance again. So you got to see him die twice, which is sad. I don't like seeing him die once, let alone twice. Then Nick goes to the theater, and he goes behind the theater to try to stop the fire. Yeah, even the CGI fire doesn't look good. Like, I'll say this has gone up a little bit on this rewatch. I don't think it's as bad as I remember it being, but the CGI is what's killing it for me. Like, just, it looks so cheap, like I said. It's hard to look past. Even though it's these type of movies, which I really don't care much if they use CGI. I think I've said this in one of the videos. But I don't know, it just looks cheap. It just feels like this should have went right to video. Like right to DVD. That's how it feels. Like a direct-to-DVD sequel. But it wasn't. It was in the theaters, and it was in 3D. So, I don't know. It just definitely feels cheaper. And then Nick's in the back, and the nail gun shoots him in the wrist like this and pins him against the wall. And he sees the fire spreading. Come on, man. This is your girl that's in the theater you're trying to save. Rip those fucking nails out. Yeah, it'll hurt, but do all you can for your girl, man. Rip those nails out your arm and get your ass moving. Come on. Yeah. And then Nick ends up lifting up the wooden plank that has fire on the end to the extinguisher at the top. And the water comes down and puts everything out. Dude, the barrels, the combustible barrels, was already on fire and then got put out. Like, this shit would have still exploded. Like, there's no chance that it wouldn't. But whatever, they're all safe and fine. And now they get to go back to their little favorite coffee shop. Which, the coffee place is hilariously called Death by Caffeine. Which I think is funny as shit. And then that creepy bum from earlier that one of them gives change to, he comes up to Nick in the coffee shop and like, hey, you're the one who stopped that mall fire. You saved a lot of lives, man. That was weird. And they even acknowledge it. Say, yeah, that's weird. Because it is. It's strange. Alright, this, I don't know why they don't show it. It said on the table in this coffee shop earlier in the movie, it said, it's coming. Like, scratched into the table. And now the three of them are sitting there, and he moves his arm back, and it says something else under it's coming. But it cuts away so fast. All you see is the very top of the letters. And then he kind of freaks out, and he says, like, why, you know, maybe we were supposed to be here the whole time, and then the truck crashes through and kills all three of them. But what did it say underneath his arm? Like, I feel like that would be something good to see. Like, see what was scratched in on the table under it's coming. But all you see is the top of the letters, and then moves, and then it cuts away. So I don't know what it said. And then they get killed by the truck. So, yeah, it went up on this rewatch a little bit. It's not my favorite in the series or anywhere. It's still my least favorite. I mean, I'll see with 5 when I do 5 tomorrow. But I'm pretty sure that's going to hold up. Like, that one's not my favorite either. That one's, like, right above 4. But who knows? Maybe it'll go up a little bit. But this one definitely did a little bit, so who knows? Definitely a fun time. This whole Final Destination series I adore. And, yeah. So I'm going to watch and have a video up for The Beast Within a few hours. And wherever you guys are from, hope you're having a good morning, day, or night. And I will talk to you soon. Take care, guys.